Well, welcome to my 50 and Fabulous podcast here, sponsored by Main Street Mortgage. And I am beyond over the moon to have two amazing, fabulous women. I have Sandra Yancey, the CEO of eWomen Network, and I have Julie Kraschinsky, the chapter leader for the Calabasas chapter. So welcome, 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 ladies. So honored to have both of you on today. So let's just, like I always say, jump right in and kind of get going and talk a little bit about you, Sandra, and your background and kind of where you started. And I've heard you speak many times where you started and how you got to where you are now and, what's really some common denominators for that success. So we like to just dig a little bit deeper here.
Okay.
So Sandra, what I have here, Sandra is an award-winning entrepreneur and #1 best-selling author of 6 books, movie producer, founder, and CEO of eWomen Network, and is recognized by all the International Alliance for Women as one of the world's 100 top difference makers, selected by Emmy Award-winning TV show The Doctors, and the transformation expert. She is recognized by CNN and American Hero. Well, that's a mouthful right there.
There you go. Don't need to say too much more than that.
Well, tell me a little bit about all that. So, just a little bit to touch on that. Tell me what, drives you and, how did you, get involved with the TV shows and your books and everything on that?
Kind of an evolution, to be honest with you. I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I'm a corporate girl and moved from Dayton, Ohio, very small farm town community to Dallas, Texas.
One of my favorite places.
Me too. And although it's very cold here today, but anyway,
it's cold here too.
Right. Everywhere, I think, from looking at the news. But anyway, when I came here, by that time I had started my own kind of coaching practice. I was a solopreneur. And one of the things that I noticed early on as a solo coach was that I never really got a break. I was doing everything, right? And even when I was on vacation, they called me. I didn't have an assistant. I had no infrastructure other than I knew what I was doing. I had a really great set of packages. I was selling them to major corporations like Coca-Cola and John Deere and Levi Strauss and AT&T, and the list goes on. And it was a sexy portfolio of clients. I was making a lot of money and I was miserable. I had no sense of balance, and I was doing everything.
Before you were married, children, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, no. I got married very early. I've been with my husband 45 years. So this is after, I met my husband in high school.
Oh, and that's so cool. Yeah, I hear you talk about him. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. And he was 5 years older. He was out of school, but I was in high school. And so I thought when I was moving to Dallas, how can I do this differently? How can I set this up so that I felt like the business owned me and I didn't own the business. Yeah. And that's why I feel like I can so identify with all of the other entrepreneurs that start out because they're competent. They have a zone of genius. They know who they want to serve, and they, create a website and a marketing plan and, get on social media and create their Facebook group. And then they're just, the business is chewing them up. And so I was on a quest to try to figure it out. And I started networking in Dallas, and I just was having a hard time really breaking in here. So it was really kind of a good old boys club.
Yeah, I can see that.
And everybody's very nice to me. I just couldn't break in. And yet I kept thinking, my gosh, I could never have to be on the road again. With the world headquarters, for Frito-Lay and JCPenney's and Countrywide Insurance had a big campus, and Ross Perot, and thinking, I could be working in these organizations and be home at night, with my kids.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't working. And I have to give my husband, 10,000% credit. I said, where are the other women? Where are the other women that are like me, that are tired of doing it the way I've been doing it and want to break out of that and learn how to create infrastructure and, the things that I didn't know that now I know. But all I had to do was ask the question. And Kim was my husband's name is Kim. And he was the one that said, why don't you go out and create it?
Go out and get it.
So And so it started. I mean, I'm telling you, I was, holding little events in the back of La Madeleine. It's a French bistro here, and they have a little private room. You couldn't reserve it. It was first come, first serve. So there I would be at 6:30 in the morning. They open at 7 because I wanted to be first, because I told people, 12 people, meet me there, and 3 would show up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it really did start, I totally get the journey of starting, something and it not going, as fast as you think it's going to go. It's never as big as you think it's going to be. You're not going to make as much money as you think you're going to make in those early years. Right.
Right.
And, but I have started heavily investing in getting access to seats at the table to figure out what are other people that have done it doing. And then I can adopt that and, or adapt it if it isn't a quite fit. And I mean, I was getting advice from hedge funds managers, say that 10 times.
Yeah.
But people that you would say, what could I learn from them? But they were saying things that I thought, oh, I think if I just tweaked it a little bit and did this, and I just started building momentum. And
yeah, sounds like you took a little piece here, a little piece there, kind of, and start to build your own thing.
Right.
Well, that's pretty amazing to start the way you did and to, obviously where you're at now. And that's a lot of work too. I mean, to get the people there, the commitments to keep them there.
It's harder now because back then there was no social media. I mean, Google, Google was around, but it certainly wasn't the verb that it is today, in 2000.
No.
So it's harder now. You know what I mean? I can't even teach what I did back then to build what I've got, because if I were starting all over, it's not the same environment.
It's not the same. And everything is so social media strong.
Digital marketing for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. Most definitely. So what do you think is the one most important ingredients to growing a business in today's environment?
Be agile. Without question, it's about adaptability. I mean, without question, the things that got you to the success that you are achieving today are not the same things that are going to get you to that next level of achievement. I mean, the environment is changing. Just look at post-COVID. I mean, things haven't even settled down.
Most definitely.
And, I mean, in many ways, we don't have the backup of the supply chain like we did before. I mean, there's some things that, I just saw that the post office is lowering the cost of the priority postage. I mean, there's a lot of things that have adjusted and changed, but it's still a lot of turmoil. It's going to be that way for a while. We're in an election year, and then, something's going to happen after that. There's going to be a host of changes and, new initiatives, no matter who wins. I'm not making a statement about that. I'm just saying the environment is going to be upheavaled for a while. And there are plenty of people that are going to sit it back. They're going to be uncomfortable with all of the uncertainty, and they're going to lean back. And then there are going to be those that say, this is my time. I mean, at some level, you're never going to have some of the competitive edge you have now, because there's just some people that are frozen in the uncertainty.
Yeah.
Right.
And so many opportunities, I think, too, post-COVID. I mean,
no question.
We never worked from home. I mean, I've always been in an office, and now we have everybody stationed at home if they need to be, or we really had a called pivot. I mean, it was a time where we pivot, and we're still doing changes in the mortgage industry to pivot and how to help people and make changes to what I'm so used to doing for 30 years. It's just not that way anymore.
Right.
We had to make a lot of
change. But we're also noticing that people living at home is creating a new level of what I think is going to be the next pandemic, and that is a depression. And what they're finding is that we're not beings that are supposed to be alone. And while this is valuable and a great way to impart and share information, it is not a substitute for the eye-to-eye, knee to knee, belly to belly, person to person connection. It is not a substitute for that. And the research is starting to show that, people are depressed and they don't know why. And it's that kind of that quiet, how it used to be when I was growing up, they were saying cholesterol was the quiet killer. Well, isolation is the quiet killer.
No, and I feel that, I mean, even with the college students, I had college students, one of my daughters, she didn't get that experience, know? And I'm thinking to myself, you didn't even get the experience. And it's kind of sad because, I mean, that college experience was so fun for me. I wanted my girls to, be able to experience that and get to.
But,
so, it was a really weird time, and we had to deal with it. And unfortunately, I think we're not, we're always going to have to deal with some part of it.
The
Um,
interesting thing about that is I've been doing a lot of reading about all the major corporations that are calling their employees back to work. And some people are kicking and screaming, but Amazon just did this huge study. They did a show on it that they actually found out that there were more people sick working from home than working in the office, because in our
and what,
homes, we don't have the level of all the filtration and things that are required in some of these corporate buildings. I
and
mean, it's
even
just
the,
interesting to watch some of the trends, right?
yeah. When
So
you think of Amazon, you think that'd be the opposite. But even with Amgen out here, I mean, that's a huge corporation where everyone used to work there. And now, I mean, it's, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in Ventura County. And now, I mean, there's those buildings are empty almost.
crazy.
People can work that all transferred here to California to work. They could be working anywhere in the United
Right.
States or out of the country.
That's
It's
right.
very interesting to see that, especially at a big corporation called Amgen. What skill have you personally had to learn and master that you believe has contributed most to your growing a multi-million-dollar international business?
I would say in large measure my own mindset. I mean, I do think that there's something to be said about this whole imposter syndrome. There's a little bit, and people remind you, there's a lot of people that remind you, like, who do you think you are to make this next big move or to introduce this next new idea, or, and I think it's really important. Again, this goes back to relationships, right? That you surround yourself with people who see maybe not even exactly what it is that you see, but support you, inspire you, encourage you, are there to answer questions. I always say you need kind of two different A teams. I can't even call them A, B teams because they're both equally important. But one is
Right.
kind of your always team, the people that you're always around, right? So you take a really good inventory. Are those the right people
Right.
that you're hanging around with? And then there's that access team. Who are the people that you need to tap into that have achieved way more than you've achieved and are there to guide you and support you and help you think through some of your ideas, right? But I
Yeah.
do think just I think it's really easy, and I know I have to deal with this myself of saying, okay, you've achieved a lot. I mean, what's the next step? And oh, that sounds risky and scary, but what I have learned is the greatest cure for reframing fear into an anxious excitement. When I find myself saying I'm anxiously excited versus scared is clarity. And I think what makes it hard for people to take the risk to step into that next level of amazing opportunity that's in front of them is that they're not really clear what it is that they truly want. I mean, they can say it, but are they clear about how they're going to message it to the customers? Are they clear about how they're going to magnify and multiply their audience? Are they clear about how they're going to communicate in video versus in writing? They're two different mediums. They land very differently. You can control your own music. I can say, oh my gosh, like that. And we all know that I'm happy and I'm excited. But if you're reading it, you could read it as, oh my gosh. People will
How to
add their
interpret it.
own meaning to it. So knowing how to shift from video scripting to email scripting are completely different. And if you're not clear on how to do that, then if you're not clear on your offer, if you're not clear on how it is a differentiation from other people, if you're not clear on how to close, right? I mean,
Clothing's
those are
key.
all things that will get in your way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
clarity is the key.
Interesting. And so what do you think holds most entrepreneurs back from achieving their goals or getting to where they want to be?
Two things I would say. One is clarity for all the reasons we've just discussed.
Yeah.
But I would say that in addition to that, they aren't really focusing on the things that make the cash register ring or move the business forward.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get sucked into the busyness of being a business owner. There's lots of stuff that can keep us very busy. And that a lot of that stuff are distractions that pull you away from the things that really do I think as a CEO, that's your job. One of two things. Am I working on the things that make the cash register ring?
Yeah.
Or am I working on the things that move the business forward? And a lot of people don't know what the difference is, but working on your infrastructure. Do you have the right team? I mean, honestly, the bigger the dream, the more important the team, right? So are you really clear on the types of people that you need, and are you building that infrastructure? Do you have your systems and processes in place? Do you have your project management processes in place, so that if someone gets sick or has to leave, they've got a parent that lives in another country and they fall and hit their head. Actually, true story that happened to me. They got to leave like right now, go catch the plane. They're going to be gone for 3 weeks. And do you have a project management system so that that person can be fully present with her family, and you know exactly where she left off and how to pick up the pieces and move on? Those are the kinds of things I think that get in the way, because there's 1,440 minutes in a day. You can only do so much.
I did not know that. So now I've learned something more today.
Yeah. Right.
But I always say that sometimes
it begs the question, right?
Yeah.
How do you spend your time, Gina, different than I spend my time that gets you better results? How does Beyonce spend her minutes differently than I spend my minutes? It's getting her results, right? I mean, that's the one equilibrium that we all have, is time. And we can always go make more money. And people get nervous about, I'm going to jump and do something and then it's not going to work out. Well, what are you going to do the next day? You're going to get up and work. But let me tell you what else is going to happen. You have a really great success. Guess what you're going to do the next day? You're going to get up and work. It just doesn't matter. I mean, so what are we afraid of? We all have to get up the next day, whether something worked out as planned or not, and get back to work, because you're only as good as your last success.
I agree 100%.
You're only as defined as your last failure, and in terms of what you let yourself be defined by.
Yeah. And it's so true. I always say you get so involved with the busy work and the monotony of emails and reading, and you forget. I mean, you got to get out. You got to go sell, and I got to get with my clients, and I get stuck doing that. And that's not what makes the cash register ring sometimes.
That's right.
But, I totally can relate to that. What has surprised you the most about starting, growing, and scaling your business?
That if you surround yourself with the right people, you don't have to know the answers. You just have to have the questions. I really do believe that it's not about having the answers, about having the questions. The great CEOs ask more questions than give more answers.
I think you're absolutely right.
So I want to go here. How do I do that? What am I missing? What's the next thing I should do? What's in my blind spot? You know what I mean? And people will offer up important things that you could never come up with on your own.
It's so true. It's true. I always say I roll up my sleeves and I dig in. That's the way I think a good leader is. You're willing to dig in and help and see what we need to do. That's how leaders are made, I feel. What's the skill you have to constantly work at, you feel?
Thing I have to constantly work at. I think of two things again. One is priorities. I think the more successful you become, the more opportunities are going to come your way. And not all opportunities are the right opportunities. Not all the opportunities are good opportunities. Those two can be really big distractions. I think it's really easy to get caught up in, this is going to make me a lot of money, and it be a total derailment. So not all money is good money. So being able to really understand, what's important and what you're going to commit to and spend your time on, number one. And number two, I'm always working on myself. I mean, I always tell people that to this day, I am the biggest investment that this company makes. I spend more money on my development than anything else. I think people are surprised to learn. I just yesterday literally signed a contract for $120,000 for 2024 on something. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm just up, but I'm going to get really serious. I'm going to make sure I've got a good return on it. And that's the good thing, I think, about writing a big check. Yeah. Because I think when you don't pay, you also don't pay attention. Don't you think? I mean, it's easy to sign up for stuff.
If you invest in something, you're going to pay attention, and you're going to make sure you get your ROI, get your return on investment.
Exactly.
I agree with that. That's amazing. Well, I've also watched you speak. I know you're coming back to California next month.
With Julie Kraschinsky.
With Julie. I'm very excited.
And we're going to be in Thousand Oaks together.
Oh, yeah.
It's a club, right, Julie?
Yeah, we're going to be, at the Low.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So I've seen you out there. I think this will be my third or fourth time that I've watched you.
I can't wait to see you again, Gina.
I know. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm also hopefully going to be able to come to Dallas for the.
Oh, terrific.
I want
you to. Absolutely.
That's for sure.
Now I'm looking forward to coming and doing that too.
You got to wear those sassy glasses. I love them.
I know.
I got a pair of those.
It's like jewelry, almost today. Yeah.
Well, I look forward. I
Yeah, we're going to
definitely
be
look
together.
forward to
Let me
seeing
just
you.
say this. I think I'm going to talk about 6 things
Sure.
with Julie. And this is on February 21st, by the way, which happens to be a very special day for me. I'm not going to say why,
She's
but it's a great day.
Birthday. I just know you have a beautiful granddaughter, a daughter.
Oh, I do. But we're going to be talking about, I believe that real success is reverse engineering. So we're going to talk about what is the future framework that I use to really build and continue to grow every year. There are 6 elements of that. I'm going to share all 6 that's tried and true and tested last year that gave us our best year ever in almost a quarter of a century.
Wow.
So that you can begin with the end in mind, reverse engineer, know exactly what to pay attention to in 2024 so that you too can have your best year ever.
Well, I'm definitely going to look forward to that. Very excited.
Okay.
So I will look forward to seeing you again, and we'll see you next month. And Julie, I will see you too. Thank you for joining. And you ladies have a fantastic day.
Okay.
Thank you. For being on 50 and Fabulous. What we live.
Bye.
Bye.